Hello, 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 welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today I'm going to show you my little drift trike. This is looks like a big wheel, but it's electric powered and it has PVC over the rear tires. So you can imagine that this PVC piping on over the top of the tires actually makes it so the back end of the trike can slide around when you go to take a corner and you can drift it. So I bought this trike last year. I bought it like last spring or something like that. And I think I bought it from like a company called Tech. I believe that's the brand. I can't exactly recall what website I got it off of, but if you look up like Tech 48 volt drift trike, this pops up, and me and a couple of my neighbors actually got these things, and we've been riding around for like the last year. Going tearing up parking lots and stuff like that and just buzzing around the neighborhood, and they are a ton of fun. I did have some issues with this thing, and I kind of wanted to show you guys what problems I had with it. Initially when I first got it, everything was good, and then like a week or two later I noticed that the battery would like cut out every time I gave it throttle, and it ended up being that under the seat they had 4 big batteries sitting under here. I actually have them up on the bench. So these are the batteries that were actually in the drift trike. They're just like some Chinese 12 volt, they almost look like ATV batteries or something like that. And the connections right here, they're just like little Phillips head screws for the battery connections. So they actually put epoxy and like hot glue over the connections. I tore it all off, but like I had to pick away all the hot glue off of the connections, and the problem is the connections actually got loose. So I peeled all the hot glue off of the connections and I tightened them up, and I didn't have any issues after that. Rode it for another month or two, and one of the batteries, when I was charging it, one of the batteries wouldn't take a charge. Like one battery was at like 11 volts, where all the other batteries were at like 12.8. And when that was the case, it would always show that I had low battery on the trike itself. There's a little throttle here, and it's got a battery meter right here. So like it would always be like in the middle when it was fully charged. So it's like max, min, and middle or whatever. So like I said, it would always show that like it was half. So I charged each individual battery separately, and that worked, but as soon as they discharged, the one battery just would always be lower than all the other ones. So I replaced just that one battery. Tech sent me a replacement battery, and I replaced it, and then like another month or two later the same thing happened with another battery, and I just got sick of it because those batteries are actually really heavy, and I just didn't want to deal with having to pull the seat off all the time and deal with the battery issues with those things. So what I did is I actually converted this thing to run on Kobalt drill batteries. So I have an electric leaf blower and a weed eater and stuff like that, and these Kobalt batteries are like they're a lithium 4 amp hour 24 volt battery. So you technically could just take 2 of these. So if I got one for the leaf blower and one for the weed whacker, I take both of them and I can plug them into this somehow in order to get 48 volts, because that's what this thing runs on. So I had that idea, and my beautiful fiance actually ordered me 2 of these, or she ordered 3 Kobalt battery adapter to 12 volt output things. Or they're not 12 volt, but they're like little connection pieces. Here, I'll show them. So these pieces on the back are just like conversions to take spades and come out to wire. So like it connects the battery here. So you can't really get a wire or like a spade terminal in there securely. So I just got these little adapters. They're like power wheel adapters, they call them, because guys do this with power wheels all the time. And this just kind of goes in here, clicks on, and then you can send the power through the wiring down here. And I put an inline fuse on it before it goes under the seat into the controller. So I'll show that quick. I actually put 3 of them. This fucking thing keeps creaking and it's annoying. I put 3 of these packs on here because I wanted to see if this thing would take, what's 48 plus 24?
670.
It's a tough one, ain't it?
72.
Is it?
I don't know. Let's do it again. What is it?
48 plus 24.
4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 72.
Is it 72?
I don't know that for sure, but maybe.
Sounds right. So I wanted to up the voltage on this thing because currently it does like 20 miles an hour. And it's got good power, or it's got good top end, but it doesn't really have like a whole lot of torque. And when I'm like in mid drift with this thing, it doesn't have enough torque to like carry me through a really like tight corner. So I wanted to see if I could take 3 of these batteries and put them on here and see if it made any more power. Unfortunately, it did not make any more power, but because the controller is limited to 48 volts, it won't allow more than 48 volts to actually go to the motor. So I got to get a different controller for this thing to actually utilize all 3 of these batteries. So I wired them all in series. So down here, if you want to show them, I took these connectors and I took the far left one and I took the ground and ran it to the positive. So the ground and the positive, and then the ground and the positive, and then we have a ground coming off of this far right end, way on the bottom. So here's the ground wire that goes to the controller, and then here on this far left end is the positive. So we have the positive on the far left and the negative on the far right. Both positive and negative go under the seat. And we wired it in series so we could double the voltage instead of doubling the amp hours. If you wire in parallel, which means you tie all the positives together and all the negatives together, you would double the amp of the battery. In this case, we doubled the voltage.
I just feel like you explaining all this should mean that you should be able to change out my light in the bathroom. Or no, is that something different?
It's different. House wiring scares me. I gotta get, yeah. And house wiring is like 120 volts. It's big boy stuff. So, but anyways, if you were to take the batteries and wire them in parallel, you would get more longevity out of the battery. Versus this, you would get more power technically. But since this controller down here under the seat, I just took the seat off to show you. This is the controller that this thing comes with, and you can see it's got a 800 watt, 22 amp current, 48 volts. So that's like, you know, the most that this thing will put out. Unfortunately, like I said, we couldn't get any more power out of it. But here's my connection. This just connects into the controller, the positive and negative. So the positive and negative off of each side of the battery banks back there just run into this connection piece here, and it unplugs and it goes into the controller. Then the controller is controlled by the throttle up here, so we have a throttle input coming from the twist grip, which tells the controller, hey, send this much power to the motor wires, which are right here. So this motor, I don't even know how big it is, 800 watt motor. It never gets hot. Like, I've ran this thing wide open for like as long as the batteries will let me, and it never even gets like above ambient air temp. So I know this motor can probably take more power, so I'm not worried about that, but the controller just won't let me. So I'm hoping I can find a cheap solution to be able to still utilize like this throttle maybe and stuff like that. Just have a controller that can pump out as much power as I want. I know sometimes when you step up to the big boy controllers, they get kind of expensive, but maybe we'll be able to do something with it. But this is pretty much the basic build. Before, all this was those frickin' batteries that were on the bench over there. And obviously it's a lot cleaner and a lot more simple now because the batteries are mounted out here. And these are self-regulating. So I can run more voltage through this thing and the batteries themselves will cut off before I damage anything with the controller or anything like that. I'm not going to discharge these too far. So that's why using drill batteries is a good idea, because you don't really need like a low voltage shut off or anything like that, which this controller has, but it's not needed because the batteries themselves can shut off automatically. Like I said, that's why using drill batteries is a good idea. And you probably got a ton of them laying around anyway. That was my theory, at least. So we're gonna show you some footage of riding this thing. Me and my buddy took it over to a bank parking lot by my house, and we're just gonna show you ripping around on it.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I didn't know I could do that.
Right. That's sick. Damn! Hey, he's still going, what?
Alright guys, as you see, the drift trike is a ton of fun. I'm hoping to put some more power to this thing soon because I want it to just like burn the tire off as I'm drifting constantly. I think that'd be a ton of fun. And I want to get into just building more electric stuff because I feel like it's the future. Although it has no soul, as some people say, there's no soul to an electric vehicle because you don't have the noises and the sounds and stuff like that. But sometimes it's kind of nice because you can get away with a lot more on an electric vehicle and not go to prison. Versus like if this thing was gas powered, I wouldn't be able to take it down the street at 3 in the morning drifting. So that's kind of the one benefit of electric is you don't got to put fuel in it, they don't stink, and you can literally ride by a cop at 3 in the morning and they don't even look at you. They don't even care because you're not waking up the neighbors or anything like that. So
How much was it?
this was, I believe it was like $4.99, I want to say, when I bought it last year. I don't know if they've gone up or down, but yeah, it's a ton of fun. Also, another thing that went wrong with this thing after I bought it is the stem, like the piece that comes down to the frame, actually broke off, and you can see it's all like rusty and snapped. So all this like snapped right off, and the frickin' stem separated from the seat. So me and my buddy just kind of goobered some fucking MIG weld on there, and we got it strengthened back up. So it's sturdy now. But that's my drift trike, guys. I just figured I'd show you. And if you guys want to see more of this thing, let me know. And let me know if you guys have any recommendations for a controller possibly for this thing that I can run all 3 batteries and get a ton of power out of it. I think that'd be fun. So, but thanks for watching. Have a great night and a better tomorrow. We'll see you later.
Oh, you're a cutie. You're a cutie pie. Hello. Roxy girl. It's Roxy's time to shine.